Thank you for both chairs, the volunteering and the original chair. Okay, I'll be talking about things that you all do while you are doing your research in nonprofit, that, or most of you use the survey and measuring the opinions, and we'll concentrate on measuring impact in nonprofit. I'm Samir Abu Rumman. I'm a research scholar in Princeton University, where we do research and survey on nonprofit, and also advisor with UMR, United Mission for Relief and Development. And my co-author is unfortunately didn't come. He has a surgery, so we will have like 2 minutes. We will listen to Habib, who came on behalf of Dr. Abed, which is the UMR president. I started with survey field. Then I wrote a different, writing about survey and public opinion measurement. Then I started going into nonprofit, and I found a lot of things in nonprofits that it's worth concentrating and focusing on in nonprofit survey measurement that are sometimes different than other survey. And this is a challenge. Some people, they say, what's the big difference? It's just all survey and impact. It reminds me sometimes when you do a survey for the general public and for employee survey, at different methodologies, different sampling, different, whatever you think about. So as in surveying, we have a nonprofit questions, and also we have a nonprofit survey in that. And one of the attractive fields or aspects or concepts in our survey, in our nonprofit, is measuring impact, especially for nonprofit. They're giving you money. What's your impact? So this is a question that we will try to figure. That's why we want to know more what's different, what makes nonprofit survey and nonprofit measuring impact a little bit different. So I will concentrate on this aspect and just move it quickly to the other surveys that you already know or familiar about. Even for our research, impact is all the time impact factor. So it's important sometimes to consider this. You all know what's a lot of people say, don't say just impact, measuring impact in survey only. We never say that. Impact, measuring impact, have a different tools, quantitative and qualitative, and one of it is survey, and it's important in that. That's what we're talking about. So this is just a case study of a nonprofit working on a nonprofit or humanitarian issues. So those are the basic questions: how many beneficiaries, how many meals you gave, to measure impact, and that's good, but there is something behind that. Those are quickly the tools that we use survey in it, and you are familiar with that. And these are the importance to use that specifically in nonprofit, the impact measurement using tools. Those are just benefits, you're already familiar with that. I just try to stop on some of the difficulty questions we feel that it's a challenge for us. Like, what's your impact? Show us how I donate to achieve impact, not to measure it. And this is a challenge. I was talking with Nat yesterday. They are lucky that they have budget to spend it on measurement, the impact, and doing survey and research without being chased from the donors that we don't want you to spend our money on measuring the impact. We want the impact. So that's one of my articles that I usually write about numbers. I say, measuring impact is attractive, but, so what's after but? This is important. So sometimes when you plan for measuring impact, you are not the right organization or the right project to do a measuring impact. So forget about it. So those are the challenges. I don't want to go through them because they are just, you can see them everywhere, unless it's something worth it. Those are all challenges. So after you check all this checklist, you will see, I will not measure impact. It doesn't work. We don't have that. So using surveys, fortunately, it's sometimes cheap. You can manage it. And sometimes it's very costly. So you gotta know where are you standing from. This is a big questions, you gotta answer them. And those are also, before you do anything, everything, you gotta ask those questions and write them and see how are you standing in measuring impact. Sampling, I love talking about sampling and to get it more, because this is one known fact. Did you sample enough from your population of studies? How is that done? How much are they? How many are they? What's the percentage? All these questions, you know about sampling. And you know what Frank Newport, the chief editor in Gallup, the former one, he said, an article which I already used it in Arabic. If it's done right, it's miracle. Yeah. How you gonna put all the population in one basket and each one of the respondents or the population have the same possibility to be choosing? It's miracle. That's why we think sampling is very important. And you ask about, and sometimes you say, I don't want to do sampling, I just do, I will ask all the population. So those are just, you all familiar with those issues that sometimes different. But budgeting, I'll jump into design question. How is it easy to ask the wrong question? And that's one of the chapters we edited in the book Power of Survey, publishing World Bank. And you got to consider all these. But in some questionnaire design, in non-profit, you got to be careful on some sensitive issues. Like you want to ask the poor, you want to ask some social, economic issues. So I translate it, sneaking into the mind of the respondents. So what are the questions that needs to be sneaking? This is all different issues about designing the questionnaire. But believe me, it's not easy as a lot of people think. The researchers know it's not easy, but people doesn't know that. So those are different tools, and you gotta ask your questions. And I like this book, Hunting for the Lost Respondents. And that's why when we did some surveys in nonprofit, when you survey the poor and the beneficiaries, it's much easier than surveying the donors or the volunteers in regard the response rate. So you gotta ask all these questions. So like Oxfam has a wonderful survey that they went to the poor people in India and they surveyed the poor. So we have, I don't want to make it in details, we did it in some of the big non-profit organizations. We have 11 categories to survey and ask. And there is a big difference between all these categories. This is all analyzing, fielding. There are some ethical issues regarding non-profit and dealing with humanitarian issues you gotta consider sometimes. And as I say, you wanna ask yourself, does it worth it? And there are some indirect goals. You have a donors, you have stakeholders. You have a power you want to gain from your survey sometimes. So that's what I like to say, indirect goals. Imagine your donors who give you money, they're saying their reports about your impact. They will get you more money if they're happy or not. So you want to ask if it's a must on to whom. You got to consider to whom are you surveying or measuring impact in nonprofit, and how flexible you are to go in your questionnaire while you're measuring the impact. Those are just examples of the categories I talked about. Each one is different. Each one needs some strategies to talk about. This is also an issue. We talk about this also now. Should we do it ourselves, ask about ourselves, which is funny in professional survey, or should we have a third partner? Each one have disadvantages and disadvantages. The third partner, like for example, I did for a big humanitarian organization a survey. They said, we will give you all the data of the donors, just send us the link. So this is something in the middle. We don't want to get your data to a survey company, the donors. But regardless of all these challenges, we can do something in getting in measuring impact. Publishing is increasing impact, and those are some sources. I want to leave it for how many minutes we have? Good. I want to leave it to Habib, who is from UMR, and I was supposed in that to have the United Mission for Relief and Development as an example, and you guys, what do you do in these issues? How do you measure your impact? They might say we're doing good, we're doing bad. That's what I need from the second part of the presentation. So I leave it to Habib to talk about United Mission for Relief on behalf of Dr. Abed, who didn't come. This is your slide, Habib. Thank you.
Hi, everybody.